in journalism. She was down in Miami as the arts and entertainment writer on the way up there. But that was a very idyllic summer. Now, shortly, that picture was taken in Tyringham Valley in Berkshire County. And shortly after that picture was taken,
It still looks the same.
I took off from a stop sign a little bit too exuberantly for the Great Barrington Police Force. And now he said I was doing 90 to 30. Well, I think I was maybe doing 85 and a 40, you know, but the officer came up and said, "Kid, I'm gonna see you walking." And he was right. It was a long straight road with great visibility on both sides, and but I did have my license in Massachusetts revoked indefinitely. And fortunately, the judge wasn't too mad when I came up in front of him, because the guy before me sideswiped the police car in front of the station and then took off. And they chased him all over the county before they caught up with him, you know, and so I was considered to be a relatively modest offender, since I surrendered immediately and didn't try to run away. That was the end of my driving that particular vehicle. But the great thing, the reason I mentioned Vicki and brought her into the situation was her mom, Beverly Sanders, gave me this wonderful book called Cosmic Consciousness. And it was written by this fantastic gentleman who was orphaned at something like the age of 6 in Canada. And he grew up, and after trying his hand at mining up in Canada, he went back to Ottawa and became a psychiatrist. And then, and he also studied all these philosophers and Walt Whitman and different things, but then he had this incredible experience where he had this enlightenment experience where he had like this incredible rapture experience. All of a sudden, I'll read more.
Would you like me to get it for you, Derek?
I got it.
Exhibit 2.
Yeah, Beverly Sanders, this is the book Cosmic Consciousness by Buck. And all at once, without warning of any kind, he found himself wrapped around as if it were by a flame-colored cloud. For an instant, he thought of fire, some sudden conflagration in the great city, and next he knew that the light was within himself. Directly afterwards came upon him a sense of exultation, of immense joyousness, accompanied by or immediately followed by an intellectual illumination quite impossible to describe. Into his brain mind streamed a momentary lightning flash of the Brahmic splendor, which has ever since lightened his life. Upon his heart fell one drop of Brahmic bliss, leaving thenceforward for always an aftertaste of heaven. Among other things, he did not come to believe, he saw and knew that the cosmos is not dead matter but a living presence, that the soul of man is immortal, that the universe is so built and ordered that without any peradventure all things work together for good of each and all, that the foundation principle of the world is what we call love, and that the happiness of everyone is in the long run absolutely certain. He claims that he learned more within the few seconds during which the illumination lasted than in previous months or even years of study, and that he learned much that no study could ever have taught. So he had this experience. He had this experience in an instant. And some of you in this room may have had this experience. I'm not going to poll you. But he went, he was a trained psychiatrist. And he went and his theory, he theorized that through evolution, people had come to the point that they would gradually evolve to have this experience, that this was a natural thing. It was a natural state of consciousness that people would start to have as people evolved. Now, that was his theory. Now, as it turned out, yours truly, I sat away with this book. And I went back to school, and lo and behold, I was sitting in my chemistry class, and I happened to be sitting there thinking about that picture. And guess what?
This one?
Yeah, that one. And all of a sudden, like a bolt of lightning, I had that experience.
Magnesium.
I had this amazing experience in an instant. I had this incredible experience. I got zapped. And it was so powerful. And in fact, it happened a few days before I was scheduled.
No.
I was scheduled to go and talk to her priest. I was about to go, what? I was gonna go on a date with her, and they wanted to see, what? You're getting nervous? All right, put your fingers to your, no. I was gonna go and talk to her priest, and I was gonna explain to him what was wrong with Catholicism.
Good idea.
I was gonna give a what for.
Sounds like
But I had a few points to make. And he was gonna check me out and see if I was suited. See, her mom was Presbyterian, but she'd been forced to promise to raise Patricia Catholic in order to marry her dad. And this was like, it was January 30th, 1968. I remember the day, because it was like a born again experience for me. I remember the day it happened. Because for 3 days, I walked around on the campus, and everybody that I looked at was a different person. They were all children of God. I felt like I said, this must be how St. Francis felt. They were all, it didn't matter whether they were a man or a woman, whether they were young or old, they were all beautiful. They were all divine children of God. And I used to always, every time I saw girls, I would like rank them like, oh, there's a 10, there's a 9, there's an 8, they all look beautiful to me. They all look beautiful. They were just beautiful. And even like the animals, they were beautiful too. They were all God's creatures. And, I was like a different person for at least 3 days. And I didn't say anything to anybody. I just felt. I didn't have to. I was just there in this state of this kind of rapture. Just looking at everybody with this different view. And then I had to go in and see this priest. And I just loved him. And I said, well, Catholicism's not so bad after all. Because I like, the only beef I had with Catholicism really was, one thing I liked about it was they're like, one thing about Protestantism, in my study of comparative religion was, in Protestantism, there was no female aspect of the divinity. And Catholicism had that. I like that. They had love of Mary. I appreciated that. I definitely appreciated that. But I went in. I was very meek and mild-mannered. In fact, I got invited to a company path to go down to the Hart School of Music, where she was trying to get in. And Hart is like, after Juilliard, it's like the #2 music school. Because she had a fabulous voice. She could sing color to a soprano. Like she could sing the Queen of the Night. So, from Mozart. She was so talented. So I spent a whole day with her mom and this priest driving down to the art school. Anyway, I was going to sing a song. I'm probably over time here, but close to it. So I'm going to sing a song to y'all.
I ask you a question?
Yes.
Guitar looks like it's an old friend that's been around a long time. When did you start playing?
Well, my dear departed sister, who unfortunately took her own life, she had a PhD in clinical psychology, but she was bipolar. She was an actual musician and played folk songs in coffee houses in Boston. She thought that I needed to have a guitar. And she took me to the music store and she said, "Carter, you need to have a guitar." And so I learned to play 4 chords, 3 of which I employed in this song.
Okay.
Carter, did you write that song?
I wrote that song.
Uh-huh.
It is copyrighted and is in the, I wrote 3 songs actually that are copyrighted. That is actually, is available on the internet.
So how old were you when you picked up the guitar the first time?
I was about 18.
Okay.
And I worked very hard on my 4 chords.
Yeah.
I am not a musician.
Yeah. Well, I'm not either, so that, 4 chords goes right over my head anyway. Yeah.
But through divine providence, I was able to learn today. I was given that song, I was given those lyrics, and they become popular. Even though I'm I'm only here by the grace of God. My kids keep hearing stories about all the ways that God could have taken me earlier and they wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Well, we are very grateful that you shared your gift with us today. And I know it comes from a lifetime of experiences and wrestling, and we just appreciate you sharing that with us. Don't we? Marcia has a question.
Yes, I have one more question for you. You were raised in a UCC church.
Yes.
You told us what you thought of Catholicism, sort of. I'm curious about where you landed in your spiritual journey.
Well, I actually have a guru. I may have to come back and do part 3 or maybe part 4, I don't know, but
Or maybe if you're interested in more, you can meet over coffee and
Yeah,
really
that's-
have time to share.
That's true.
Yeah.
I have a guru named Anandamurti. I am a member of Ananda Marga Yoga Society. He's a guru who is a political activist. He believes that
So what did you spend most of your time doing between the ages of 18 and now?
Well, being an arrogant, foolish man, I qualify as a prodigal son in several religions, and first of all, even in the Ananda Marga Yoga Society, actually, I went to India, and I went to see the guru, and I liked the fact that he was anti-communist. because I was anti-communist and my parents took me to Europe, and I was on the Berlin Wall and I saw what a horrible prison camp Eastern Europe was at the time. And I know a lot of the hippies that were against the war in Vietnam. But I was, the guru, Anandamurti, was in India. And he was in a state in India that was run by the communists. And at the time, Indira Gandhi was in league with the communists. And they were very corrupt. And they were, actually, he was trying to, he believed that spirituality was very important for India. And the communists were trying to rub out religion, or they were trying to, they were threatened by his organization. And Indira Gandhi was in league with the Russians and the KGB, and they actually had him arrested in his state, and they actually tried to kill him. And they would get gangs of people to beat up and try to literally kill his followers. And he was but Indira Gandhi, when she was going to lose an election, she tried to declare a national emergency to keep herself in power. Now, does that sound familiar? And she did actually declare a national emergency. And this guru, most people don't know anything about him, but his followers, he had followers very high up in the Indian government, and she felt that he was a threat. His organization was a threat to her. When she seized power illegally, she ordered that all of his followers be arrested. They were very, very high up in the actually in the Indian version of the IRS. They were all arrested along with him. He had already been arrested, and he was charged on trumped up murder charges and held for 5 years in the early 70s. In fact, when I was over there, I went to India twice. And the first time, I couldn't see him because he was arrested. The second time I went over there, I got to see him. And I didn't know whether I was ready to give myself, my life over to him, but he was also anti-capitalist. And I was not comfortable with that. I thought in America we had our capitalists under control. I felt that we had prevented them. We had these rules that would keep them in check. And he said, no, the capitalists are hell-bent on consolidating power and getting more and more and more. And there's no end to their greed. And they will let all the poor people starve, and they will just keep accumulating wealth. And that's their intent. And I said, well, now we got that solved over here. And so I actually left the organization, and I went into, I got an MBA, and later in life, I resumed the spiritual practices. But I'll let you all go here. So I'm a vegetarian these days, and probably better for me, I think. So anyway, so
Thank you
all
very
right.
much.